afternoon, Hartlepool United fans and Eastleigh fans, and welcome to the Pills Preview Show here live at Victoria Park for this classic Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. We've got Hartlepool United taking on Eastleigh. It's 2nd versus 7th, and we will bring you all the action on the live stream straight after this. Dave Challoner's men are coming into this game on the back of Tuesday night's draw at Altrincham. So let's get straight into the action. Let's see what the gaffer had to say about that result.
Plenty of the ball, with only the one striker. The two centre-halves have got plenty of time with which to play these balls forward, and this one's come through by hook or by crook to Armstrong, who shoots and hits the post, and it bounces back into Tony Thompson's arm. I was just about to say he scores his 10th goal of the season. It looked destined.
He couldn't have come much closer to scoring his 10th this season. Now, Curry, my word, that was an escape. That was an escape for Altrincham. It really was when the ball came back to who we can see when it's played forward.
Ref, he's dumped on the fucking knees. Do you need someone? Do you need someone? Do you need someone? Do you need someone? Fucking well, he's not meant to have his fucking caught. I know he's it's got to be high enough. Because we're training
both by a goal to nil. And that would suggest that they've struggled on the travels, but they still find themselves as Altrincham come forward. Third in the league, their home fans understanding the best home record in the division. That shows Callum Reid frustrated here with the way this is taking a turn, because they started very well. Forced them to change his plans. They've got 2 in midfield now. They've got Crawford and Pedersen in there. And they've still got the 3 men up front, so they're still playing an attacking game. A long time here for Hartlepool to play with 10 men. We're going to have to go 65 minutes with 10 men to get something out of this. Great play from Armstrong though. He's going to be still a constant threat down the side. He's gone on the outside this time. It's in. It's a goal. The Hartlepool has scored. And we said there were going to be a threat going down this right hand side, and Molyneux's cross has been bundled into that, I think, at the far post by number 11, Rhys Oates. It was a difficult one to spot there, John. Either Armstrong or Oates, I think it may have been Oates from the celebrations.
Yes, I think so. Certainly what is beyond question is that again it was Molyneux who's the thorn in Altrincham side there, but in particular Regan Ogle's side. And it's pace that time.
Get up! Get up! Squeeze! Squeeze! Keep the shape! Keep the shape!
Time here to 4 minutes of the time. So
a lot more about the shot. Yeah, it would. It's a nice looking ball.
Nice little ball from Smith, and I think he makes something here. But it closed, then Colton shoots, it was a move. Oh my God! It's 1-1. It has gone in, and I think the referee might have blown for an infringement, but he hasn't. What a finish!
I think he was as taken aback as we all were, my word. But I thought when
on several occasions now that Colton's shots can prove difficult even when they're in the vicinity of the goalkeeper. That was another one, Altrincham level, and looking to end the half on the front foot. Some ends the half. They've got one here, it's a good looking ball, and Philip and his defender collided, and I think that's a corner. The referee in the end in consultation with linesman has raised his flag on offside, so it will be a free to Good one. Seaside header is in the air.
Yeah, listen, I think it's if I'd been offered a point at half time, I'd definitely have taken it. Disappointed with the man of the goal, obviously. Again, it's a mistake, but what we've got to do is make sure that it becomes an important point, and that's what I've said in there, because the effort they put in the second half and the discipline they've showed is worthy of a, like I say, worthy of a point. They put the bodies on the line after we've had, like I say, a really tough run of games, so the effort was again magnificent, and so it becomes a good point if we recover quickly and back that up on Saturday, and hopefully, like I say, come the back end we're looking back on what's happened tonight and saying it was the effort that we put in has got our rewards. Cass has said he's caught him, but he slipped. So as he slipped, he slipped with his left foot, his right foot's come up. It's hard because again, you don't know. We'll see. I suppose we'll see from the video. It didn't look like anything from our perspective. I suppose the frustrating thing is that that'll go down as violent conduct. There's nowhere near violent conduct, and he'll get potentially, if we don't appeal it, he'll get a 3-game ban for that, which is the punishment of that is nowhere close to what it should be. So again, we'll look at that. I thought we reacted to it really well. Obviously, get the goal, really well worked goal from us. To be honest, I think we started the game really well, and if we'd have kept 11 men on the pitch, I thought we looked like a really good team. So to get anything with 10 men for 70 minutes is a massive positive. Like I say, we did it at Solihull, and from again a similar stage in the first half. Decision that again is debatable, and within that second half, within that 60 minutes, we conceded by switching off from a set piece from the corner, and Tyler making a poor mistake when we're comfortable. I suppose the difference in that was that we probably provided a little bit more threat, and we had a little bit more legs on the bench, which we didn't have tonight to sort of affect it. But it's about getting results, and in adversity, in situations where you don't play well, you've got to try and pick points up, and we've done that tonight. The frustrating thing is that going off the first 25 minutes of the game, we started the game unbelievably well, and we looked like the game was there for us. We looked like we were really on it tonight, and unfortunately the opportunity to go and get 3 points has been taken away from us.
Another. So there was everything from Tuesday night, from that draw at Altrincham, and Dave Challoner's reaction. Here on the preview show, we like to get a little bit of an angle from both teams. So we saw Hartlepool there. We're now going to speak to Eastleigh media manager Tom Mulholland, who will give us a little bit of an outlook and analysis on his team's season.
Stop-start season, I'd say, but overall quite a positive one. There's a good feeling. We've got kind of a new look this year, new squad, a lot of young, hungry players, and we've got off to a really fast start. And then over the winter period, it was quite clear. Had a bit of stumbling blocks, a few games without a win, but then recently, 8 games unbeaten. We went on a good run again to put us back in the playoffs, and now maybe slight signs of a bit of a few stumbling blocks in the last 3 games, but hopefully we can turn it around. When we play you.
Was that always the target at the beginning of the season for Eastleigh, to try and be reaching towards the playoffs, or just round about that place that you are now? It's 7th in the league at the moment.
I think so. I think it's fair to say, yeah, that's especially since 2 years ago when we got in the playoffs. That's kind of been the overriding feeling is we can do that. Why not go again? But I think we kind of find ourselves a bit like dark horses. I think, and I think we like to be viewed as that. We kind of go under the radar quite a lot, and if obviously why not aim for the playoffs? And I think that is the ultimate aim. I think we do have the players to do it, and the manager is very keen to aim for that and nothing less really.
Hartlepool versus Eastleigh. This is actually the third time we've met this season due to that game being called up at half-time at the Rain down at the Silver Lake. It only seemed like 2 minutes ago we last played you, because it was less than a month ago. A 2-1 defeat for Hartlepool, obviously 2-1 victory for you, and that goal came after 2 minutes, and then another one, and then we were able to find one back through Joe Gray. What was your overall assessment of that game? And from an Eastleigh point of view, looking at Hartlepool, what was your assessment?
It was a massive win, definitely. It was one that going into it, I was thinking it's going to be a very tough game. Obviously, you guys are flying as well at the minute, and we're on good form too. So it was one of those where it's vital we got a win, and I don't think we could have got up to a better start, really, like you said, with that goal. I think it was well documented. The pitch wasn't the greatest, and we're fortunate that we got used to it over the few games before. So I think that probably did play into our hands. I don't think your team quite got to grips with it as quickly, through no fault of your own. But yeah, we capitalised, and it was a massive win, really important. And that was while we were firmly in that period of good form. And yeah, it was a massive win and got us back into the playoffs really after that.
So what are you expecting from your team on Saturday? A few bad results in the last few games, obviously defeating your last game. How are you expecting your lads to bounce back against Hartlepool?
Yeah, it's going to be, like you said, a tough test. Like I said as well, you're flying at the minute, and especially at home. So I think really, I'm quite a reserved perspective when I predict games. So I think really we kind of got to stop the rot. It's not too bad at the minute, but 3 games unbeaten, you don't want that to get worse and worse, especially the position we're in with a lot of teams catching us. So we're going away to your team, which are a very tough team and a very tough ground to go. Obviously, we were beaten there last year as well. So I think we've got to kind of dig in. I think I'm not sure too much I'll hear in the next couple of days, but team news wise, we might have a few injuries. We might be bare bones. So I hope not, because then we're going to win with a good chance. But yeah, to kind of dig in, stop the rot, we need a solid performance, I think, from back to front. And as they always say, a win would be good, but as long as we get a draw away from home is all we can aim for.
For Hartlepool fans watching at the moment who may not know a lot about Eastleigh, kind of give us an idea about your squad, the way the squad shape is, and any players that we should watch out for.
Yeah, so like I said at the start, we've gone with a bit of a new direction this year with younger, hungrier players. I think a bit with COVID and finances and stuff, we couldn't, try and get some big hitters like we've had 3-4 years ago. But we've got a lot of young, hungry players, and that's has its pros. Obviously, they're all exciting to watch, but also it's cons sometimes like game management and things like that. But yeah, we pride ourselves on being able to play football, fast attacking. And I think that's all down the width is our threats. We've got likes of Sam Smart, Ryan Hill, who've been really key since we've swapped to a 4-4-2 formation. And then even further back than that, our wing backs is quite a strength. We've had, I think Joe Tomlinson is one of our standout players of this season, come in and establish himself. He can go forward and defend. So that's kind of our style of play. And we've got dangerous players, and on their day they can cause any team problem, I think.
So there was Eastleigh media manager Tom Mulholland giving us a little bit of an overview on Eastleigh's expectations for today and for the rest of the season. For the final part of the preview show, we're going to bring you Dave Challoner's Q&A, filmed yesterday. Lots of questions brought in by the fans. This will be split into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. So please enjoy Dave Challoner's Q&A, part 1. Right, gents, we've just filmed teammates, but now we're going to do the Q&A. Plenty of fans send questions, but Gaffer, probably we haven't really sat down. I know we speak after every match and before match, but had an evaluation of the season. How important is it probably to all of you as a club that we constantly inform our fans and really have this personal level and let them know what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I suppose in normal circumstances is easier to do because we'd see people. So if we were at a game, after a game, it might be having a drink in the bar, it might be walking out to your car, it might be before the game, talking to, you get the opportunity to speak to supporters. No one's had the opportunity to do that this year, so it does become more difficult. But a football club, wherever you're at, is made up of all the most important people involved in it. Normally is going to be the supporters, so to keep them in the picture as to what's going on is massively important.
Joe and Jake have joined you to help with this Q&A. Is that just to help you get through the questions, or
just in case I get stuck? Or there's a less political answer that I might not want to give, I'll throw it to my left or my right.
Alright, we're going with the questions. We're on Twitter first. Question from Jack Wheelhouse. He says, how has the mindset of the club changed since you've all come in? There seems to be a great hunger to succeed and never say die attitude, like shown against Yeovil last week, and a united front between the players and staff.
It's hard to say that wasn't the case before we came in, and I don't think that was the case. Sometimes that's shown in or comes out in different ways. Again, I suppose within that, the challenging part comes when it's easy to say there's that spirit and there's that fight. It's easy to battle when you're winning games. Hopefully, what we have done, and towards the back end of last season, we've shown that. Again, that's great. If we do that, it helps us to win games, but it's not the be-all and end-all. We all want to win. We all hate losing. But it's okay to lose if you've done everything you can. You control what you control. The club's changed massively in 12 months. And probably if you spoke to the chairman, it would have been something that he'd like to, or a position he'd like to have been in a lot sooner. It's almost gone back to the bare bones, and we've had to build from scratch, and it's important now that there's an infrastructure put in place, and it's being put in place that helps us to keep moving forward and keep progressing.
Just another question here from Martin Lacey. You have a number of important players on loan at the club. Are you able to tell us anything about the plans to replace or necessary, or to keep them, let's say, try and get them permanent or anything, or just a general overall review of our loan lads?
Like I say, for me, the loan market's been massively important at all the clubs I've been at. It was important back end of last year when we came in, and it was always going to be important this year because the budget was significantly reduced from where we were at. So in order to protect that budget, the loan players you get in are vital, because, again, without going into too much detail, we're paying significantly less in some instances, or most instances, maybe as low as 20% of players' wages and salary in order to get them with us. Now, granted, within that, I think it's important you get the right loan players in. For some, it's first loans, so there's risks involved. So Cass is his first loan. As a young player coming into men's football, there's always a chance that it doesn't go right. There's always the risks involved in that. That's
what I was just about to say. How much individually do you work with these lads in terms of obviously coming from higher leagues to like kind of adapt them to? It's a very different game in the National League.
Yeah, they've got to learn quick, haven't they, and adapt. Like I say, with Cass, it's his first one, so it's massive for him, and it is a little bit of a gamble. And you work with them every day, and individually, at the end, they always want to do stuff. But like Cass, they've come from them clubs, and he's got a great attitude, wants to learn, and gives everything in training, which can make it a little bit easy for him.
He's the prime example of, I suppose, how young players' loans work, because again, came in, you'll play your first 8 to 10 games, and you almost ride the crest of a wave, and we were winning games. He'll be the first to admit, before he got his injury, he had two poor games, and he was really disappointed with the games he had. That's going to happen. You're going to get that, and the break for him, picking up a niggle, probably came at the right time, which has allowed him to sort of play a lot of games in a short space of time, do really, really well, have a couple of blips, come out the team, watch a few games, reflect on what he's done, and then all of a sudden come back into it. Granted, in a different position in terms of him going back in, but he's gone again. And that's how not just loans will work. That's how games will work with young players. You've got to find your feet and find your not so much find your level, find what the requirements are in order to for you to improve and for the team to win.
Question from Jeff Hewitson. I can imagine this is a very serious question. How is Champions League football a real possibility in the next 6 years?
It is for Jake on the game on Football Manager and things that he plays, but that's about it. Listen, I think we know where we're at. I don't know what Champions League, Football League would be nice, and like I say in the start, and aspirations can change from there.
Champions League night at the Vic.
Sure, Real would fancy it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it would be an eye opener for them certainly.
Another question on Twitter. You said after the Wrexham game that this is at the moment probably the strongest squad that we've had, and probably since you became manager here. Is there any areas though that you'd still like to strengthen in terms of when you start looking towards the end of the season, or maybe right now?
It's hard because I suppose you could be really sort of picky and go, well, you'd love that and you'd love that. I think we're certainly not in any panic to get anyone in. The one area we potentially don't have cover for is left back, left wing back. We don't have many naturally left-sided players. I think we've got John O'Fergie and Moles are the three. We're playing at the minute with a back three. We've got Asper centre back. Maybe you'd look for. I mean, Cass can do jobs in different positions. You'd maybe another centre back. But what you have to look at is, even if you go in further around the pitch, bringing another player in may stop the progression of other players. So we could bring in another forward player and sort of look at it and go, well, maybe Joe's not quite up to it, but he is. So why would we halt his progress and put another rung on a ladder that he's got to get above when he's doing great himself?
Jake, Joe, has he ever asked you to fill in the gaffer when needed?
Yeah, we've played a couple of NBA 11s, haven't we?
Yeah.
Fair play. But it's difficult when you bring more and more players in because we have got a decent sized squad. We've only got 5 subs. It's the players that are out of them, keeping them happy, and the squad together is really good at the moment, and bringing more in, you're just pushing people further and further away, which you just mentioned, so it can be difficult. But I'm sure if the right player come along, then you'd make that extra effort. Sure.
It's not mentioned on here, but I've seen it throughout the season. Can you confirm whether Anthony Sweeney was registered as a player at the beginning of the season? So many people are saying if we get, obviously I know some competitions were cancelled this year, but would Sweens have featured?
No, Sweens wasn't registered. I'm sure Sweens could still have a go, like.
Joined in a few runs and he's still got to be.
Yeah,
there, hasn't he?
yeah. He's still young, isn't he? I'm pretty sure if you asked him, he wouldn't fancy it. Like he wouldn't mind a job as a number 10. That means you do nothing out of possession, but just get himself in the box like he did when he was playing. I'm sure if you asked him, he'd be the first to admit that in his eyes his playing days are well and truly done.
Question from Luke Bell. A question for all is really: what's your favourite game from being a part of Hartlepool United? Obviously, it's been very different without fans and all sorts.
For me, it was one of the first games when I got here was the Yeovil away. It was a great performance, and went behind early as well, didn't we? And played some great football that night, some great goals, and that was one for me.
Yeovil at home for me, last minute winners always nice to see. That one coming from behind again, it was made of that record we had, and lads showed a bit about them there to go and get the win last minute.
I'd probably go two of the games last year. It's different because you can pick things out this year, but ultimately things this year without crowds are not the same. Probably look back to Notts County last year, Stockport last year here. Those games where probably one of our best performance was Barrow here. When again we drew 2-2, but we thoroughly deserved to win the game. Them performances where you've got an atmosphere, you've got a big away following. It's a big game in terms of teams that were in around the playoffs or pushing to get in the playoffs. They were the ones for me. I think everyone wants to be involved in the big games, and with the big game comes a big away following and a big atmosphere.
Question from Ollie Wise saying, how are we doing in comparison with your expectations of where we are on the table, and kind of what your thoughts were at the beginning of the season for everyone really?
I think you always hope that the things you'll put in place will give you the best chance. The start that we had further enhances that you're doing all right. We then have a bad run in terms of results, not so much performances. We then found a decent consistency. I think with where we are, it's difficult because what can you have a comparative to? You look at budget wise, we're definitely in the bottom half. So where's your reality? Where do you think that we need to finish? A part of that, you go, well, there's 23 teams in the league, halfway's 12. Even to get in the playoffs, you've only got to make up five places. So I think for everyone in the league, as much, I've said this before, people, as much as I think 90% of the teams at the start of the season would have targeted getting in the playoffs. But I think of that 90%, 75% of them would have been desperate to get to 50 points as quickly as possible, because the league can be anything. You can be up there competing one year and struggle in the next year, just in terms of results. So to give ourselves a shot at getting in the playoffs, if I was offered that now and I'd been offered at the start of the season, I would absolutely have taken it. Obviously, the further it was still half a season to go, and we're still in with a shout of doing better than that. But we want to finish as high up as we can. Certainly, in my opinion, these guys again will have their own thoughts on it. But if we can give ourselves some big games at the back end of the season, and that means the best way of doing that and the best chance we have of doing it is through the playoffs, then I'd absolutely take it.
Both agree with that, gents?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there, in terms of when the lads look at their phones and see where we are in the league, is there a certain way you have to manage them in terms of probably not getting ahead of themselves with so many games to go?
Not really. They're all down to earth. The lads, they realise how much of the season's still to go. But I already said, we've given ourselves a great chance. Again, 3 or 4 games, you can again move up there, or you can be straight back down again. It's so tight, isn't it? And the season's been so up and down for a lot of clubs, but we've sort of managed to stay in and around there, and long may that continue, really.
I think you have to think this year, above any year, the table will look different between Saturday and Tuesday because of the amount of games and the amount of games that, or the difference in the least amount of games to the most amount of games that have been played. I think it's FA Trophy this weekend as well, so there'll be a disparity there, and it's about taking advantage of those opportunities, because as much as we might say anything, and probably again speak from a personal perspective, don't look at the table. I haven't looked at the table, know where we are and around things. The players will look at it because they spend the majority of the time on their phones and looking at social media, and will love all the adulation, and will love all the praise that's being heaped on them, and that can only be, like I said, that can only be a positive. It's about using that positive to as a motivation to keep us driving forward.
So that is all we have time for here on the Pills Preview Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up next on the live stream, you can join myself and Evan Horwood as we bring you here at Victoria Park, Hartlepool United taking on Eastleigh FC.